My sister tried to steal my late husband's company using a forged document. I fought back and won, but lost my entire family in the process. I never thought I'd be in this situation. My husband, Jimmy, 42 ends, passed away unexpectedly 3 months ago from a heart attack. We were married for 15 years, and he was the love of my life. Now, I'm dealing with not just the grief of losing him, but also a bitter dispute with my sister, Michelle, 32F, over his company. Jimmy and I met in college. I was studying nursing, and he was in computer science. We bonded over late night study sessions and a shared love of terrible sci fi movies. Jimmy always had big dreams. He'd talk for hours about the tech company he wanted to start someday, how he wanted to change the world. After graduation, while I started my nursing career, Jimmy took a job at a big tech firm. He hated it. The corporate culture stifled him, and he felt like just another cog in the machina. We'd stay up late, brainstorming ideas for his own company. When we got married a year later, we decided to take the plunge. Jimmy started Technovate from our garage. Those early days were tough. I picked up extra shifts at the hospital to keep us afloat while Jimmy poured everything into the business. There were nights I'd come home exhausted from a 12-hour shift to find Jimmy still awake, coding furiously. But we believed in his vision. Michelle, my younger sister, has always been complicated. Growing up, she was the rebellious one, always getting into trouble. Our parents weren't the most attentive. Dad was always working, and Mom was more interested in her book club than her kids. Michelle often felt overlooked, and I tried to fill that gap. I remember one incident when Michelle was 16. She'd gotten caught shoplifting, and instead of calling our parents, she called me. I was in college at the time, but I drove 3 hours to pick her up from the police station. We had a long talk that night about her feelings of neglect and acting out. I thought we'd made progress, but looking back, maybe that was the start of her expecting me to always bail her out. When Jimmy and I got married, Michelle was initially supportive. She even worked at Technovate for a while in the early days, helping with admin work. But things soured quickly. Michelle felt Jimmy was too controlling. He wasn't, he just had high standards. And she quit after a big argument about her constantly being late to work. Since then, she's bounced between jobs, never really finding her footing. She tried college for a semester, but dropped out. She worked as a bartender, then a yoga instructor, then tried to start her own line of organic skincare products. Nothing ever stuck. Through it all, she'd often come to me for money, which I'd give her against Jimmy's advice. He always said we were enabling her, but I couldn't bear to see her struggle. Jimmy's company, Technovate, grew slowly but steadily. He was always passionate about creating a positive work culture and giving back to the community. He started a mentorship program for young entrepreneurs and was known for his generosity. I remember one Christmas when an employee's house burned down, Jimmy organized a company-wide fundraiser and matched every donation himself. As the company grew, so did our family. We have 2 kids, Liam, 10, and Sophia, Mars, 7. Jimmy was an amazing dad, always making time for family despite the demands of running a growing tech company. He'd have breakfast with the kids every morning, no matter how early he had to be at the office. Saturdays were sacred family days. No work allowed. Jimmy left the majority of his estate, including the company, to me in his will. He also left a significant amount to charity and smaller bequests to his siblings. Michelle received $50,000, which I thought was generous considering their strained relationship. Jimmy had always been wary of Michelle, especially after she asked him for a loan to start yet another business venture a few years ago. He refused, which led to a huge fight between them. The trouble started at the funeral. I overheard Michelle talking to our cousin about how she deserved a bigger share of the estate. She was saying things like, "I was there in the beginning too, I deserve part of the company." I was shocked, but too grief-stricken to confront her then. A week later, Michelle showed up at my house with a lawyer. She claimed that Jimmy had promised her a share of the company years ago, and that she was entitled to at least 30% ownership. I was floored. Jimmy had never mentioned anything like this to me, and I was with him every step of the way in building Technovate. Michelle's lawyer presented a document that she claims is a promise from Jimmy to give her shares in the company. The document looks suspicious to me. The signature doesn't quite look like Jimmy's, and the wording is vague. My lawyer thinks it might be forged, but we can't prove it yet. Since then, Michelle has been on a rampage. She's been calling Jimmy's employees, telling them that I'm planning to sell the company and that they'll all lose their jobs. She's reached out to clients, spreading rumors about financial instability. She's even gone to the local press, painting herself as the wronged sister who helped build the company only to be cast aside. The worst part is, some of our family members are siding with her. Our mom thinks I should just give Michelle what she wants to keep the peace. She's always babied Michelle, making excuses for her behavior. I remember when Michelle totaled her car while driving drunk in her early 20s, Mom paid for a new one and helped her cover it up from Dad. Our brother, Charlie, 38M, is staying neutral, but his wife keeps making snide comments about how some people forget where they came from when they get money. It's hurtful because Charlie knows how hard Jimmy and I worked to build Technovate. He was there in the early days, helping us move equipment into our first real office space. I'm trying to hold it together, but it's hard. I'm grieving my husband, trying to run a company I never expected to be in charge of, and now dealing with this betrayal from my own sister. The employees are getting nervous, some clients are hesitating to renew contracts, and I'm worried about the future of the company Jimmy worked so hard to build. The kids are picking up on the tension too. Liam asked me the other day why Aunt Michelle was saying mean things about Daddy on TV. How do I explain the situation to them? They're already dealing with the loss of their father, and now this family drama is affecting them too. I've offered to set up a trust for Michelle, giving her more than the $50,000 Jimmy left her, but she's not interested. She wants control of the company, plain and simple. I can't let that happen. Jimmy built Technovate with integrity and vision. Michelle has never shown an interest in the tech world or in running a business. I'm afraid she'll run it into the ground or sell it off for quick cash. I'm standing my ground, but it's taking a toll. I'm not sleeping well, I've lost weight, and I feel like I'm constantly on edge. The only thing keeping me going is the support of Jimmy's longtime employees and friends. They've been sharing stories about Jimmy's dedication and kindness, reminding me why I'm fighting so hard. Yesterday, Jimmy's best friend from college, Jake, stopped by the office. He shared a story about how Jimmy had stayed up for 3 days straight during their senior year, helping Jake finish a project after Jake's computer crashed and he lost all his work. That was just who Jimmy was. Always there for his friends, always willing to go the extra mile. Am I the asshole for not giving in to Michelle's demands? Should I fight this in court if it comes to that? I never wanted this conflict, but I also can't bear to see Jimmy's legacy destroyed. Any advice would be appreciated. I feel like I'm drowning here. Update 1. It's been 2 months since my last post, and things have only gotten more complicated. I want to thank everyone for their support and advice. It's been a lifeline during this nightmare. First, the legal battle has officially begun. Michelle filed a lawsuit claiming partial ownership of Technovate. Her lawyer is arguing that she was instrumental in the early days of the company and that Jimmy's $50,000 bequest was an insult to her contributions. They're demanding 30% ownership and a seat on the board. My lawyer assures me we have a strong case, but the stress of impending court dates is overwhelming. We've been gathering evidence. Old emails, financial records, testimony from longtime employees. It's painful going through all these memories of Jimmy, but I know it's necessary. One piece of evidence we found was particularly poignant. It was an old notebook of Jimmy's from the early days of Technovat. In it, he detailed his struggles and triumphs as he built the company. There were pages about late nights coding, worries about making payroll, and excitement over their first big contract. Michelle was barely mentioned, except for a few notes about her chronic tardiness and lack of commitment. Reading it was like hearing Jimmy's voice again, reminding me of why I'm fighting so hard. The company is suffering from all this uncertainty. We've lost 2 major clients who cited the legal issues as their reason for not renewing contracts. I've had to reassure the staff multiple times that their jobs are safe, but I can see the worry in their eyes. Last week, one of our longest-serving employees, Sarah, came to my office in tears. She's been with Technovate almost from the beginning, and she was distraught about the possibility of the company changing hands. She shared a story about how Jimmy had supported her through her battle with breast cancer a few years ago, giving her all the time off she needed, and even organizing meal deliveries to her house during her chemo treatments. This company is more than just a job, she told me. It's a family. We can't let your sister destroy that. Michelle's smear campaign has ramped up. She gave an interview to a local business journal, painting herself as the wronged co-founder of Technovate. She talked about late nights working alongside Jimmy, conveniently leaving out the fact that she quit after less than a year. She even implied that Jimmy and I somehow forced her out of the company. It's infuriating seeing her rewrite history like this. The family situation has deteriorated further. At a recent family dinner, which I now regret attending, things got heated. Michelle showed up with a stack of old photos from the early days of Technovat, using them as proof of her involvement. What she didn't mention was that most of those photos were from company parties. She was an employee, not a co-founder. Our mom lost it at the dinner, screaming at me for tearing the family apart. She kept saying how Jimmy would be ashamed of me for fighting with my sister. I tried to explain that I'm just honoring Jimmy's wishes, but she wouldn't listen. I ended up leaving early, in tears. The drive home from that dinner was one of the lowest points for me. I found myself stopping at the park where Jimmy proposed to me all those years ago. We used to come here often, dreaming about our future together. Now, sitting on our favorite bench alone, I felt the full weight of everything I've lost. Not just Jimmy, but my relationship with my sister and mother too. Charlie, our brother, finally broke his neutrality. He pulled me aside after the dinner and told me he believes me, not Michelle. He shared that Michelle had approached him a few weeks after Jimmy's death, asking if he wanted to join her in contesting the will. He declined, and now he feels guilty for not telling me sooner. It's a small comfort, but I'm glad to have at least one family member on my side. The one bright spot in all this has been the support from Jimmy's friends and colleagues. His best friend Jake has been especially helpful. He's been coming to the office regularly, helping me understand some of the more technical aspects of the business that I'm still learning. He's also been a great emotional support, sharing stories about Jimmy that remind me why I'm fighting so hard. Jake told me about a conversation he had with Jimmy just a few weeks before he died. Apparently, Jimmy had been concerned about Michelle's recent behavior. She had been asking for money again, and he was worried she might cause trouble after he was gone. It breaks my heart that Jimmy was worrying about this, but it also strengthens my resolve to protect his legacy. I've been trying to focus on running the company amid all this chaos. We launched a new product last week, something Jimmy had been working on for months before he died. Seeing it come to fruition without him here is bittersweet, but I'm proud we could make it happen. The team really pulled together, and for a moment it felt like old times. But the reality of the situation is never far away. Yesterday, I found out that Michelle has been reaching out to some of our younger employees, trying to get them to testify on her behalf. She's promising them promotions and raises once she's in charge. It's clear she has no idea how to actually run a tech company. She's just seeing dollar signs. I'm trying to stay strong, but some days it feels impossible. I miss Jimmy so much, and dealing with all this legal and family drama while grieving is taking its toll. There are moments when I think about giving in, just to make it all stop. But then I remember Jimmy's face when he talked about the future of Technovat, and I know I can't let Michelle destroy that. The court date is set for next month. My lawyer says we should be prepared for a long, ugly battle. I'm dreading it, but I'm also ready to fight. Jimmy believed in me, in us, in this company. I won't let him down. Thank you all again for your support. If anyone has experience with business lawsuits or dealing with family betrayal, I could really use some advice. And if you have any funny stories or jokes, those would be appreciated too. I could use a laugh right about now. Update 2. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm still in the thick of this nightmare. The court case has been a roller coaster with more twists and turns than I ever imagined possible. The trial started 3 months ago, and it's been grueling. Michelle's lawyer has pulled out all the stops, painting her as the wronged co-founder who was pushed out of the company she helped build. They've brought in expert witnesses to testify about the value of early contributions to startups, trying to inflate Michelle's brief time at Technovi into something it never was. One of the most difficult days was when Michelle took the stand. She spun a tale of late nights and brilliant ideas, claiming that many of Technovati's early innovations were actually hers. It was hard to sit there and listen to her lies, to watch her cry crocodile tears as she talked about how Jimmy had betrayed her. But our side has been fighting back hard. We've had longtime employees testify about the real early days of the company, about Jimmy's leadership and vision. Jake, Jimmy's best friend, gave particularly powerful testimony. He talked about conversations he'd had with Jimmy about Michelle's lack of commitment to the company, about her constant demands for money and special treatment. One of our key witnesses was Dr. Samantha Lee, Jimmy's mentor from his college days. She shared emails from Jimmy during the early days of Technovate, where he expressed frustration with Michelle's lack of contribution and discussed potentially letting her go. It was hard to hear, but it clearly showed that Michelle was never considered a co-founder. The most damning evidence came from an unexpected source. Remember Charlie, our brother who finally took my side? He found an old email from Michelle to him, sent just a few weeks after she quit Technovi. In it, she complained about how boring the tech industry was, how she never wanted to see another line of code again. It completely contradicted her current claims of being a passionate co-founder. When our lawyer presented this email in court, you could have heard a pin drop. Michelle's face went pale, and her lawyer looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. It was a pivotal moment in the case. Outside of court, things have been just as chaotic. Michelle's smear campaign has taken a nasty turn. She's now claiming that Jimmy and I had marital problems, insinuating that I might have had something to do with his death. It's disgusting and completely false, but some people seem all too willing to believe it. The stress has been taking its toll on my health. I've been having panic attacks, something I've never experienced before. My doctor wanted to prescribe anti-anxiety medication, but I'm hesitant to start down that road. Instead, I've been trying meditation and yoga, with mixed results. Technovate is hanging in there, but it's been a struggle. We've lost more clients, and employee morale is at an all-time low. I've been doing my best to keep everyone motivated, reminding them of Jimmy's vision and the amazing work we do. We've started a new project, developing software for local schools, something Jimmy had always wanted to do. It's helping to keep us focused on the future. The family situation is beyond repair at this point. Mom is still firmly on Michelle's side, and she's been giving interviews to anyone who will listen about how I'm destroying the family. Charlie is supportive, but he's been keeping his distance, worried about getting caught in the crossfire. There have been a few bright spots, though. Jimmy's parents have been incredible throughout all of this. They've stood by me 100%, even testifying in court about Jimmy's relationship with Michelle and his plans for the company. Having their support means more than I can express. The trial is expected to wrap up in a few weeks. My lawyer is cautiously optimistic, but warns that these cases can be unpredictable. All I can do now is wait and hope that the truth will prevail. I'm exhausted, both physically and emotionally. There are days when I wonder if this fight is worth it, if I should just give Michelle what she wants and be done with it. But then I think of Jimmy, of the passion he had for Technovate, and I know I can't give up. Last week, I found an old video while going through some of Jimmy's things. It was from Technovate's 5th anniversary party. In it, Jimmy was giving a speech to the employees. He talked about his vision for the company, about creating technology that would make people's lives better. He said, "This company isn't just about making money, it's about making a difference." Watching it, I was reminded of why I'm fighting so hard. This isn't just about money or control, it's about preserving Jimmy's legacy, his vision. The kids are struggling with all of this too. Liam has been acting out at school, and Sophia has become very clingy. They miss their dad, and they don't understand why their aunt and grandmother are saying such horrible things about me on TV. I'm trying to shield them from as much of it as I can, but it's not easy. Through all of this, the support from Jimmy's employees has been incredible. They've been working overtime to keep projects on track, and many have reached out to offer personal support. It reminds me that Technovat is more than just a company. It's a community that Jimmy built. Thank you all for your continued support. It means more than you know. I'll update again when the verdict comes in. Until then, wish me luck. I'm going to need it. Update 3. It's been a month since the trial ended, and I'm still processing everything that's happened. The verdict came in 2 weeks ago, and I'm relieved to say that we won. The judge ruled in our favor on all counts, dismissing Michelle's claims of co-ownership and ordering her to pay our legal fees. The courtroom was tense as the judge read out his decision. He cited the overwhelming evidence of Jimmy's sole leadership of Technovate, the inconsistencies in Michelle's testimony, and the damning email Charlie had found. When he finished, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. It was over. We had won. Michelle didn't take the news well. She started screaming in the courtroom, calling me a thief and a liar. The bailiff had to escort her out. It was a sad, ugly end to what had once been a close sibling relationship. The aftermath of the trial has been complicated. The news of our victory has helped stabilize Technovate. We've already had 2 former clients reach out about renewing their contracts, and employee morale has improved significantly. There's a sense of relief in the office, like we can finally move forward. Personally, I'm still trying to process everything. The stress of the past year has taken its toll, and now that it's over, I'm feeling the full weight of my grief for Jimmy. It's like I'm finally able to mourn him properly, without the constant threat of losing everything he built hanging over me. Family-wise, things are still a mess. Mom hasn't spoken to me since the verdict. She left me a voicemail saying I was dead to her. It hurts, but I'm trying to accept that this might be our reality now. Charlie and I have grown closer through all this, which is a small silver lining. Michelle has disappeared. After her outburst in court, no one has heard from her. Part of me is worried, but a bigger part is just relieved to have some peace. I'm focusing now on honoring Jimmy's legacy. We're expanding the mentorship program he started, and I'm looking into setting up a scholarship in his name for young tech entrepreneurs. It feels good to be thinking about the future again, instead of constantly fighting for the past. The kids are doing better. We've started family therapy to help us all process everything that's happened. Liam's behavior at school has improved, and Sophia isn't as clingy anymore. They still miss their dad terribly, but they're learning to talk about their feelings more openly. There's still a long road ahead. The company has taken hits from this ordeal, and it'll take time to fully recover. I'm still learning every day about running a tech company, but I'm surrounded by a team of people who believed in Jimmy and now believe in me. Last week, we had a company-wide meeting to discuss the future of Technovate. I shared some of Jimmy's original vision for the company, ideas he had jotted down in notebooks years ago that we never got around to implementing. The energy in the room was incredible. For the first time in a long time, we were all excited about the future. I want to thank everyone here for their support throughout this nightmare. Your advice and kind words have been a lifeline. I'm not naive enough to think this is the end of all our troubles, but for the first time in a long time, I'm hopeful about the future. Jimmy built something amazing with Technovate, and I'm honored to be able to continue his work.